Well, hello everyone. I'm Dan Turbyville. This is Powerhouse Fence Show. This week we're going to do something that I don't know. Maybe it'll make a good episode, but regardless, it was pretty fun to think through. So I'm just going to pretend like I'm starting over, right? And we're going to talk through the things that I would do starting again on day one. So hypothetically, I sold Memphis Fence, packed up everything. We moved to a new city and we started from scratch. No network, no relationships, none of that stuff. Where would I start? What would I do? So, um, that's what we're gonna do today. So hang around and check that out. Like I said, it was fun to go through in my mind. Maybe sit down and write your playbook out, and let's see what you come up with. So we have some sponsors here on the show: Memphis Fence Company, Simpalo, and Valguard Strategies Group. Something is stabbing me in the leg right now. And we have a few partners: the Thornton Fence Consulting Group, Fence News, Easy G Manufacturing, My Salesman. So all of those are products we use, things we believe in, people we like, things along those lines. And you should check them out. There are links to all of that in the description. There also is a link to the Emerging Fence Professionals Facebook group. There is another meeting tomorrow. Crazy, it's been another month, but there is the monthly Emerging Fence Professional meeting tomorrow. You can find the links and the information in that Facebook group if you're interested. Super easy way to get involved in networking. Very powerful thing. This show is live right now. As always, there is a phone number on the screen, 901-878-4987. If you do decide to call anytime you want, that's a number you can reach me at. I like to, I don't know, share what's going on, right? And so I've been reading a book called Be Your Future Self Now by Dr. Benjamin Hardy. And we read the intro. It's part of the Purple Mastermind for 2026. Read the intro. It was really good. I've definitely enjoyed it. We're also reading Good to Great in our book club here in our office. So doing both of those at the same time. I listened to a bunch of podcasts. I just kind of listed a few of them out. My First Million Founders, The Game by Alex Hermosi, maybe. Campfire Conversations, The Bible in a Year. So, I mean, I pretty much listen to at least one or two of those every day. Anyway, that's enough of what I'm doing. I appreciate all of you being here. And I thank you for, tuning in and listening and stuff like that. It's cool. If you enjoy what you hear, feel free to leave a like, comment, review, share, something along those lines, whatever thing is possible where you are. And with all of that, I think we're gonna skip on down. Yep. Oh, I see Ken Throckmorton says see you next week. So he's coming down for the Memphis Tri-State Fence Association, which is our local AFA chapter. He's coming down for our golf tournament that's on May 15th and 16th, and we'll be out there. So if you're anywhere in the area or want to come down, check that out. It's on the AFA calendar for sure. So, but anyway, so we're getting ready to. That was the next thing I was going to say is we're getting ready to start a couple new journeys. One of them is going to be to capture some media at that golf tournament. Never done anything quite like that, and like what they asked me to do. So the Jamie, he has a plan and he's going to kill it. So I'm just kind of along for the ride. And the other one is going to be a lot longer of a journey. And I think it's going to be something pretty awesome. But, now's not really the time to get too deep into that. But it's working towards one of my bucket list items, and that is to participate in the Baja 1000. So we'll talk about that more in the coming weeks. So with all of that, let's do it. Let's start running through this thing, and we talk about what I would do if I sold Memphis Fence, moved to a new city, and had to start from scratch. But first, Time for a drink. All right. So again, we're going to assume that I have no connections there, right? Yeah, it's kind of not realistic, right? But we're just going to assume. So for fun, I don't have any connections. I definitely don't have a place to set up shop, right? That would be real life. I don't have just lots waiting in cities around the country by any means. I don't know any customers. Mm, maybe right. A lot of the general contractors that we do work for in real life, they work in a lot of cities. And so, I mean, there's some chance that some of that might cross over, but probably wouldn't know, maybe not any customers, right? Don't know any vendors there. Really don't know anybody in this town. And let's assume that I've got $150,000 in the bank. All right, so that's going to be a limiting factor as well, right? That means that I need to move quickly. 150,000 in the bank might sound like a lot, and depending on what you're doing, it might be a lot, right? But it's not enough to just go out and start bidding big jobs to general contractors and get spread out on 4 or 5 different decent sized jobs at one time. You're going to run out of money in a second. So it it's a decent bit of money, but it's not a ton of money, right? You'll run out of it quick. So there is that limiting factor. I don't just have unlimited money sitting around waiting, and I don't have a bunch of assets. I can't get. I don't have a big line of credit that I can rely on. Like I'm very limited, right? So that was kind of the mindset that I tried to put myself in, and I said, already have like all the normal stuff is taken care of. We have the place to live. I mean, kids are in school, utilities are connected. Like I'm not trying to get that far into it, right? All that's done. So now it's time to go to work. We are there and we're ready to go build another fence company. Um, I will say again, this is actually a really cool thing. So if you get time, it's a fun thought experiment to just sit down and kind of go through in your mind if you had to start over, then what would you do? Right. And I thought about, I think this has been done on TV shows. No idea what they're called, but I know I've seen some like clips or something like that. And I said, man, that would be really cool to see people from the fence industry do, right? So like take the best of the best in the fence industry and put them in a new place and give them, a couple months or whatever time period, and just see what people could build. So kind of like the TV show, but just fence. Kind of cool idea. So step one, I would define what I'm gonna build. Okay, what type of fence company do I want to build? What target customer do I want to go after? Like where am I gonna focus? JC Gurry, thanks for stopping by. Good to see you. Where am I gonna focus? For me, I'm gonna focus initially on I'm gonna go down a commercial path, right? But I'm gonna focus on like business to business. Probably go after property management, general contractors eventually, but not on the front end. So at first, straight business to business, local companies is where I'm going to try to start, and then I'll network to the property managers, and then as I grow and kind of graduate to like the next level and have some cash flow going, and I'm not worried about running out of money, then I'll start getting into general contractors. So that would be kind of my plan from the beginning. So one of the first things I'm going to do, obviously, laptop, QuickBooks, get Simpolo going, basic Microsoft stuff, any of that kind of software suite that I want, like that. That's where I'm going to live. And now I've defined it. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start working on credentials. This is what I need to legally do business. And yeah, sure, you could probably get away without doing this. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to go through the process, and I'm going to at least make sure everything's applied for and all my ducks are getting in a row right out the gate here. So, um, because I defined what I'm going to build, right now I can start kind of honing in on those specific things and try to get what I need. Do I need a contractor's license? Maybe. I mean, can I do $50,000 jobs without one in this area legally? Then, maybe I'm fine for a while. Maybe the state doesn't require one, like whatever that is. I'm going to at least learn those rules and I'm going to make a decision. Do I need to go take a test to try to get a contractor license or no? And if I do, probably one of the first things that I'm going to do. I put these things kind of tried to go in order, and it's not necessarily in order of like most important or anything, but I think it's the order that I would go in. So again, check out the contractor license stuff, right? Try to see what I can do legally or what I need to prepare for, and I'm going to go down that path. Business license, probably have to have that everywhere. I don't know. I'm not an expert of the world, but I'm guessing you probably have to have one. I'd probably go down the path of what is a permit office going to require that I have if I go file for a permit. So I'd probably call them, maybe go by there, just check it out, feel them out a little bit, see what the process is like, what credentials are going to be required to do it, and make sure I have everything good to go. Do I need to set up anything to do utility locates, right? Is there some sort of training or anything that I need to go through in order to call in the locates? I know here in Tennessee, there is like some online stuff that you have to do that's, I mean, super basic, right? But it's like you got to go watch some videos or whatever online, and I think that's how you can enter your locates in their website or their online system, something along those lines. But I'm going to go through that process, right? So I want to try to get all of those little things out of the way that could stop me from doing a job when I sell one. Okay, I definitely don't want to be in trouble for not having a business license and like potentially get shut down and have to fight with that. If I have to pull permits, like I don't want that to just take an extra 2 or 3 weeks because I didn't have my ducks in a row before I started. Same thing, utility locates, right? Like I want to get all that stuff out of the way. So the next thing I'm going to do, step 3, is I'm going to start looking for some core partners. All right. So these are going to be the people that are going to help me to get it done. Again, I tried to put them in order, not because of the most important or anything like that, but because I thought which one is going to take the most time and need to be done up front. And honestly, this first one, I might have to swap with some of the credentials stuff. But first person I'd probably try to find is a lawyer. Okay. Because I want my business set up properly. And as I'm going through here, I'm going to be creating contracts and different documents like that. And I want a lawyer that I can depend on to review those and make suggestions to make sure I'm covered. Right. Brand new company, only have $150,000 to play with, minus whatever I've spent so far. And I don't need anybody like fighting me in court and, trying to get a piece of that. Right. So I need to protect that. I have to protect whatever we have. So that's where the lawyer's going to come into play. And again, I probably would try to like make my own contract documents and do stuff like that. I'm probably not going to ask the lawyer to do it, but I'm at least going to ask them to review it and give me suggestions on improving what I have. So now that I have a legal business set up and kind of have the ball rolling a little bit on getting some documents created, like I said, that may have to happen before some of these credentials, but I mean, I can at least be figuring out the credential piece while I go to the lawyer, right? So a lot of this, like you might have to do a piece of this one and a piece of that one and a piece of this one, and they all kind of mesh together, right? So just cut me a little slack here. Uh, the next people that I'm going to start looking for are insurance folks. And I'm going to go probably, to do it in the olden days, I'd get out the phone book and start looking for insurance companies. So whatever that is today, go to the internet, start looking around, and I'm going to start interviewing insurance agents. Okay. They can have the biggest, prettiest building in town. They can have all that. That's great. I'm going to go talk to the insurance agent. I want to go to their office. I want to see, is it just them? Do they have a team there for support? Are they gigantic? Right? I don't want to go to the gigantic people. Not straight out the gate. Probably. I probably am going to look for somebody in the middle. I want them to be big enough that, if the main agent that I call is on vacation, there's someone else there that can step in and help me out when I need something right now. So I want them to at least be big enough that I have that peace of mind. And I want them to be pretty likable and knowledgeable. And I want to feel like they're going to build a package that's going to protect us. So Now that I've interviewed a few of them, I'm probably going to try to get a couple quotes, right? I doubt I'm going to go talk to 3 or 4 or 5 different insurance people. And one, they're all going to want to quote your insurance package, right? But they're also like, you're not going to like them all. They're not all going to be a good fit. You're going to have some tough conversations and say, I really appreciate your time, but I just don't think it's the right fit. And that's what I would try to work on, because I feel like getting it quoted, filling out, man, there's so many forms, right? And getting all that stuff filled out, getting it submitted, getting the coverage all bound, and then they're going to send in more forms that you have to fill out. Like, just going through that whole process, I want to go ahead and get that started, because I can't do a single piece of fence anywhere until I have insurance done, right? Like, the lawyer was number one, because we need contracts, we need all those documents in place, we need a business, right? We have to have a structured business before I can start. And then the insurance people are number two, because I don't know why I just did three with my fingers, but number two, because I can't do anything without insurance. Okay. So let's get those knocked out of the way. Now, I put marketing partner next. Again, I think all of those are kind of happening simultaneously, right? You're not going to dedicate 3 days or 4 days straight to just calling lawyers and just or just go drive around and pull up to people's office. You're going to have, overlaps, right? So the marketing partner, the reason I put them up towards the top is because they're going to build a website for us, right? And for them to build a website, they need time to do it. So these top three that I've mentioned all kind of go together, okay? And while they're building a website, we're going to have a plan for online marketing, whatever they're going to handle there. But nothing is going to go live yet, because I want to have all of my ducks in a row before it goes live. I don't want somebody calling me and saying, "Hey, can you go do this repair for me tomorrow?" And I just say, "Oh, sorry, I can't." Right? Like, I don't want to be faced with that. I want to have all my ducks in a row before it goes live, before I get a phone call, because that is not delivering the customer experience that I expect of myself on day one. Right? I'm going to screw up, but I don't want to screw up on the first one. Right? At least let me get a few days in before I make a giant mess of something. So again, website kind of stuff maybe goes all the way at the top, because it's just going to take a while, right? But we have a good plan. I've found some people that I like. I've picked someone, and they're getting it set up. Same thing with your social media stuff, right? You can go ahead and you can set up the pages and just not make it to where they're not live, whatever that's called. And I can go ahead and start creating content. And yeah, I don't really know what the content would be. I didn't spend a lot of time thinking about that, but I can start creating content and just have a backlog. Okay. So if I have some free time at night, I mean, if I see something online that I want to share, right, I can just kind of save it and just start building up that backlog of stuff that I can start dumping in there, and just keep it saved, because once all of this stuff comes together and things start popping off, time's going to be super tight, right? Like, it's just me. And so you're not going to have a ton of time to sit around and think about stuff to put on social media and all this other stuff. So just start building that backlog. Now, a banker. All right. So exact same process as with the insurance folks. I'm going to go around, talk to some bankers. This one, again, I want to make sure that there's someone there that can be second if the primary contact is away. So whatever that reason is, they're on vacation, they're sick, they're whatever. I want to have a second person that I can talk to, because when you need some help, you need some help. And a lot of times you don't have days to wait. So I'm gonna go around, meet some bankers, pick one I like, and all of this stuff. Like, I'm really just looking for the people that can deliver the service. Yeah, it's great to, have some sort of relationship with them and them be likable people, but I really want someone who can give the service. And immediately, I'm going to start trying to work on a line of credit. I know I said it earlier, I've only got 150,000 in the bank, don't have a line of credit. Well, because then I didn't, right? Now I've found a banker. Maybe once I find a banker, I can at least get a little bit of something. Maybe I start with 25,000 or $50,000 line of credit, right? But anything is better than nothing. And I mean, I would set that thing up and I would pay the few $100s a year for it to renew, and I would just let it sit there until the cows come home, even if you never use it. And this is like real life, no matter where you are, right? Have the line of credit, let it just sit. You got to go sign papers once a year or every other year, and you got to spend a few $100. So what? Tea time. Now, all of that stuff's all that's cooking, right? I mean, that's a lot. You think about going around meeting multiple lawyers, potentially insurance people, you've marketing people, your banker, like you've met a lot of people, right? You've put in work so far. But I think this is the way. Okay? This is the way. Now, let's go meet some material suppliers. And I think this is maybe going to be a little bit easier than the others. Um, it's kind of a niche market, right? You can search for fence material supplier. You can't really search for fence insurance provider. So I kind of put the material providers down here. Not that they're down there in importance, okay? It's just the order that I would go. Um, and honestly, I could probably call the same people that we're buying stuff from now and start there, but I'm not going to, right? Because I don't have any connections. This is just for fun. So again, I'm gonna go meet them. Maybe we can go to lunch. Maybe I can just go by their office one day and say hey and shake hands with people and build those networks a little bit, right? Put a face with a name. And it doesn't really when I start bidding jobs, I'm gonna get multiple quotes on material anyway. I'm gonna send it to the 2 or 3 or however many suppliers that I have this relationship with, and I'm gonna figure out the one that I wanna use, okay? Or the 2 that I wanna use, or hopefully the 3 that I wanna use, but I'm gonna figure out who does the job and who doesn't. So, um, and then I'm just gonna move forward, right? And even today, like, we're pretty I don't want to say we're super fluid with material providers, but we have relationships with multiple providers. And it's not like we're just married to one person and we buy everything from one person. And we keep the networks and we keep the ability to get multiple quotes. Same thing I would apply there. Now, my accountant, and I'll be honest with you, I almost just said, nah, I'll get to this later. Right. It doesn't need to be done now. Let's go ahead and get to the point where we can start trying to sell some fence. And I thought, huh, yeah, if I don't do it now, then I might not ever do it until I'm in complete panic. And so I need to do it now. Cause again, it's just me, right? Super lean outfit. There's not a bunch of people. When it comes time to need the accountant and need the taxes done and need those kind of things, like I, I'm going to need this person in place. So again, same process. Go meet them, go talk to them, pick the one I like. Okay. Now installers. Now here's, I don't know, here's some information for you. I'm going to start by trying to find all subcontractors. Maybe you agree, maybe you don't. That's fine. But I'm probably going to go through a few subcontractors before we find some good ones. Okay. And I think this is the place that I would start. Money's tight. I don't have a truck. I don't have tools. I don't have trailers. I don't have equipment. I don't have any of that kind of stuff. But what I do have is time to go meet some folks and time to go look at some of the work that they've done and start building those relationships and those networks. And, like I said, might go through a few of them before we find some good ones, but I would start there instead of with W-2 crews. I, I don't want to worry about keeping people busy every day. I definitely don't want to hire people and then have to send them home because we don't have any work to do. Um, you know, even if you remove the whole truck, trailer, equipment part of the equation. I'd just start with subcontractors. And once things are going, okay, now we're gonna look a little bit down the road here for just a second. So once they are going, then I'm gonna start looking for some in-house folks. And I think the number one first in-house person that I would look for is some sort of person to assist me, right? Maybe an assistant. I don't think I would put in someone and say, okay, your job is sales, your job is operations, your job is general manager, your job is an installer. Like I would not go straight to any of those people. I would just try to find a person who can just help. And, somebody that's going to be able to help get jobs installed is probably going to be the first place I'm going to look. So teach them how to order material, right? Teach them how to call in the locates, take care of permits, do that kind of stuff, right? So again, just help with the process, not someone who I can just hand it to. Now, if they stick around and they start with some of these easier tasks, like we're going to build up to that point to where I can just hand a job off to them, but not on day one, right? I don't want that person. Um, at some point, I'm gonna try to graduate to in-house crews. Okay, that would be my long-term goal. I don't know how long it would take to get there because I have to be able to afford, again, truck, trailer, equipment, tools, all of those things. But I'm not gonna do it on the front end just because it comes with that whole nother level of expenses and having to deal with keeping them busy for the 40-hour week and the benefit and taxes and trucks and tools and trailers and all of those things, right? Just not in a place where I can do that yet. But again, long-term goal, that's where we're going to try to get. And I'm going to hope and pray that I can find the subcontractors to do the work for now. And if not, then well, I don't know. I don't know what we'll do, but we're going to keep trying down that path. And when we find the good ones, we're going to take care of them, right? Whether they're in-house crews, whether they're subcontractors, suppliers, all the lawyers and accountants and everybody else we talk to. I mean, we're going to try to take care of all of those people and treat them like they're a part of our team and not a disposable asset, right? They're not a napkin that we just want to use and throw away. We want to take care of them. Okay. So while we were going through the step 1 to 3 process, 1 second, we were kind of, I told you it's all going to mesh together, right? So it's not necessarily going to happen in this order. But as we were going through that process, we were working on some other things behind the scenes. So we've already been working on a contract, right? We mentioned we are going to have find a lawyer. So once we find them, we can kind of start working on getting our contract in order. And that's going to be contracts for our customers and for our subcontractors. However, we're going to structure that. Maybe we have like a master contract with subs, and then just kind of issue like a couple page deal with every job, or maybe we issue, a several page contract with every job. Figure out how you want to do it. I probably am going to go with the master contract and a little packet per job if it's me. Less protection per job, but and I know I'm kind of rolling the dice, and I'm okay with that. So I've got work order documents made. I've got some customer acceptance documents. I've got my invoicing stuff all set up, which again, already had QuickBooks, so that wasn't too bad. I just had to set up the form the way I like it. Uh, if I'm gonna do like create an actual purchase order, which I'm probably not, I'm gonna give you a PO number, but I'm not actually making a purchase order behind the scenes. But regardless, I have a purchase order system structured in Excel or somewhere ready to go. I kind of have all that basic stuff going. So enough things to get me started, enough systems that not like, I've sat down and wrote out a bunch of SOPs kind of thing. Cause honestly, I'm just not very good at that. Um, not very good at deciding it's what I want to do today. But so I probably haven't done that, but I have the systems, I have the documents all in place. I have an idea of how I want a job to flow from end to end because I want to deliver the absolute best customer experience that the world's ever seen. Okay. And the only way I'm going to do that is if I have all of this stuff lined up and all of these things in place. I don't want to be in a situation where a customer's like, oh, hey, yeah, I'm ready to move forward. And I say, oh, okay, well, give me 2 or 3 days or a week or whatever to get a contract together. That's crazy. No. But anyway, so I have an idea of how all of this stuff I want to work. And I would try to work on documenting it at least at a high level. Right. So when we hire that assistant person that I talked about a minute ago, they can come in and I at least have something bullet pointed out for them. Right. So they can have an idea of how the process goes. Now, again, that's ideal. I hope that I had the time to spend to go through and get all of those things done kind of behind the scenes. While in the meantime, I 100% for sure have been protecting my cash pile like it's oxygen. Okay. Because I understand that there's some chance that somebody's going to come to me with a job that's a little bigger than I really should do. But I'm like, man, I want this relationship. And I'm going to probably spread myself pretty thin as quickly as an opportunity presents itself. I just know me. I know how I'm going to roll. And so I want to try to keep this cash uh, ready because that's the tool that you need. Um, Again, very limited resources, right? Cash can help you to solve some puzzles that come up, right? If you run into some issues and you need to get some stuff done, sometimes you just got to throw some money at it. But beside that, I've kept cost at an absolute bare minimum. I mean, we haven't even hired a single person yet. We don't have, maybe a couple subscriptions going, QuickBooks and stuff like that. But like we don't have an office, we don't have a yard, we don't have any staff. It's still just me, a phone, a laptop, and a dream. And we're just going for it. I've been working on a company logo behind the scenes. So I have one of those set up. I ordered some decals to go on my vehicle, right? Like not full vinyl wraps because I'm broke, but it's something to get going. Just some decent looking decals, right? I don't want like the super basic. Uh, I want something that makes me go, yeah, that looks pretty decent, right? With the understanding that it's not a full vinyl wrap and not anything crazy. But I've been working on a bunch of stuff like that and just kind of trying to get all these things going. Cause again, a lot of this stuff, like, I mean, go back to the lawyers, right? Like you might have to wait until the lawyer calls you back tomorrow before you can do anything. So I'm going to fill my time with getting all this other stuff going. Man, hold on. All right, we have the people lined up to help us get some work done. I'm for sure there's some stuff along the way that I've missed. But you get the idea, right? The overall concept. So far, we're probably a few weeks in, and I don't know how much money we've spent. It doesn't feel like we've spent a lot, but man, I bet you that stuff adds up. I mean, did we have to go buy the phone and the laptop and all that kind of stuff? And we bought some decals. We hired an insurance company, lawyers. The banker's not going to really charge us anything up front. So, I mean, maybe we spent $10,000, right? Maybe ish, 15, something like that. Um, and I mean, we've not really even done anything. Yeah. So, but we're a few weeks in and we've done nothing but spend money. But you know what? We are gonna be ready. And it's like that. That's cool, right? When you get to the end of it and you're like, all right, let's turn it all on. Everything's ready. So we didn't have anything else to do, right? We hadn't sold any jobs. We didn't have any crews to manage. We didn't have to worry about anything of that like that. And we were very disciplined and resisted selling anything. That's hard. All right. But you know what? Now it's time to go sell something. So again, I bet we're at least 3 weeks in, maybe a month in, and we're just now getting to the point where we can even try to sell something. So we're gonna go launch all of it. We're gonna go back. We're gonna call the marketing folks, and we're gonna say, "All right, launch that website, and let's get our marketing plan rolled out. Let's get going." Uh, we're not gonna call and tell them to do it now, right? We're gonna call and say, "Hey, we're gonna launch it on Monday, or we're gonna launch it on Thursday." I bet I would probably try to go for Thursday. Yeah, that sounds better. And once we get everything going, I mean, we're just running a fence business again now, right? So website's live now. I- Immediately out of the gate, this is something that kind of surprised me, but I would be really aggressive on Google marketing, and I would just try to start buying customers, right? I don't know. Customer acquisition cost is a real thing, no matter what you are, where you are. So I'm going to just start throwing money at customer acquisition. And I mean, I'd probably start 5,000 a month, right? Is kind of my guess. Depends on markets, but I mean, I'm guessing I'd just start throwing 5,000 a month in Google immediately. And then, maybe start spending a little bit of money in Facebook, Meta, whatever. start pumping some dollars into there and like just let that start going. And then when that first customer calls, I would 100% do everything in my power to deliver wow, right? And then when the second calls, I would do the same thing. And when the third calls, I would do the same thing, right? Because that's what's going to make the difference. But I would start attending everything I could find. If there's somebody there that might have my money, I'm going to go, right? So lunches, dinners, that kind of thing for associations, maybe BNI. I know BNI is important, but I mean, from my experience, they have like you have to be here every week or you're going to get kicked out kind of thing. And it being just me, I don't know, maybe I'd probably start and see where it went. Chamber of Commerce, stuff like that. Whatever kind of those type of meetings were available, I'm going to go to as many of them as I can. And then if I have free time in between, I'm going to go and stop by and meet some people, right? Like when I'm sitting there at night and everybody else is asleep, I'm going to start building a list of the people in town that I want to meet. Or hopefully I've been doing that for the last month. But I have a list of people in town that I want to meet. Developers, property managers, stuff like that is where I'm going to start. Because remember, immediately my attack is business to business. So I want the local, probably, hopefully local is where I'd start. Kind of more mom and pop type places. That's who I want to call me first. And then from there, I want to graduate, right? And now we can start getting some calls from corporate people. Obviously, we're not going to turn them away if they call us first, but they're not our first target. And then the corporate people are not the first target because they're going to be more complicated. They have more paperwork requirements and they have all of this kind of stuff. And being just me, I don't really enjoy sitting around filling out paperwork, so I'm not going to try to start there. But anyway, I'm going to go try to meet with some developers. Okay. I'm going to go try to meet with some property managers. And then I am going to try to start meeting with some general contractors, things like that. Again, just any potential customer, right? And we're going to get back to general contractors, right? Like that's where I'm progressing towards. But right now, I need the cash flow. I need some jobs that I can turn and start making a little bit of money on. I don't need to go out and sell some jobs that are going to take 6 months or 8 months or 2 years to get to, right? Because I'm going to starve between now and then. So I have to find some customers that have some cash flow. And I don't want to go down the residential path. I mean, yeah, sure, I would if it absolutely just came to that, but that's not what I want to do. So I want to start with the business to business. I want to start with developers, property managers, things like that, and then start building the networks and relationships with the GCs. Start with the local general contractors, and just start meeting people, and then just sell jobs. Hopefully, again, we're dumping money into online marketing so we can try to acquire customers that way, and we're just gonna be as many places as we can at the same time. And I would maintain that aggression for as long as possible. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and sponsor some events, you know, softball teams or things like that, right? Are great because it's your logos are just going to hang there. So I definitely try to do stuff like that, but I'm thinking more like events. I mentioned the dinners and the lunches and things like that, right? Like if you can sponsor a lunch, great, do it. If you could sponsor a dinner, good, do that. I mean, we're spending 5, 6, $7,000 a month online advertising, right? So maybe you go spend $1,500 and sponsor something, or $1,000 and sponsor something when there's 30 potential customers in the room that you can go talk to. Like it, I think it'd be worth it, right? Because you want your logo everywhere. I want my logo to be so many places that people get sick of seeing it. That's what I want, right? I want it to be all over town. Man, tea time again. Sometimes my mouth just gets drier, throat gets drier than others. But yeah, I want to be everywhere. I want to be as aggressive as I can with networking and things like that for as long as I can. Now, what's going to happen is the phone's going to start ringing and you're going to go out and start meeting with customers. Okay. So you're going to go from spending a ton of time at events to maybe it balances out, right? And then at some point, you're going to spend way more time with your customers and getting jobs done than you are at events. So get as much of the events in as you can at the beginning. And then, just like you would with anything else, right? Does your margin fluctuate depending on your backlog? Should. Does the amount of money you're spending on, online advertising fluctuate with your backlog? Should. The amount of time that you spend at events fluctuates with your backlog? Should. If you go into an event, you haven't been there in 3 months and you walk in and you say hey to everybody, they're still gonna remember you, right? And they're gonna say, "Man, where you been? I hadn't seen you in a while." And you're like, "Man, we've been super busy putting up fence all over the place." And they're gonna go, "Oh, really? Maybe we should give you a chance," right? So, just do it. That's what I would do. Now, step 5, deliver. I've already said this once. I'm going to say it again. I might say it another time. Who knows? Deliver the absolute best customer experience the world has ever seen, is what my goal would be. Okay. Because, we've been reading the book Good to Great. And in that book, it says if you can't be the best in the world at your core business, get another core business. And customer experience is the core business. So I'm going to be pretty on top of subcontractors and stuff like that, especially at the beginning, right? There's going to be some point where they gain some trust and I kind of back off a little bit, but definitely at the beginning, I'm going to review the work that they're doing. I mean, for sure, the first 5 or so jobs that they go out and do, I'm going to look at every single one. And then from that point, I might, give them a little bit and start just kind of spot checking here and there, but I'm going to stay on top of the quality. Where we're, we're going to have some expectations of what the fence is going to look like when it's done. And again, with the subcontractors, we might go through a few, right? If we want to deliver the best customer experience, we need subs that are going to show up when they say they're going to be there. So if you're scheduled to be there on Tuesday, then the expectation is that you're there on Tuesday. And yes, things happen every once in a while to everybody in the world, but don't make it a habit, and we'll keep calling. So now that these things are kind of rolling, right? So I've probably got some jobs. I've got a little backlog. I've got my assistant that I talked about earlier to kind of help with, the maybe the quoting or the follow-ups or, the installation process and staying on top of making sure materials there and things like that, right? So we've kind of got some momentum going there. And that's when I'm going to start looking a little bit more at the GC jobs, but only the ones that make sense. And the ones that make the most sense are, that person that we ran into at the meeting that we hadn't been to in 3 months, and we told him we've been really busy and hadn't been able to make it. When that guy calls and wants a price on something or sends an email and says, "Hey, can you bid this thing?" Those are the jobs that make the most sense. Okay. So those are the ones that I'm going to make sure that I bid. And depending on how many of those come in, if I get 1 or 2 of those a week, I'm probably just going to bid those jobs. Right? If I get one every 3 months, well, I'm not doing a very good job networking. So now I'm gonna go the cheap route because I'm still pretty cheap and brokish. So I'm gonna go to the cheap route and I'm gonna type up a letter that's an introductory letter. It says, "Hey, this is who I am. This is what I can do for you." And I'm just gonna blast that out to general contractors. Strategically, when I say blast it, it sounds like I just send it to everybody. I'm going to strategically send that out to general contractors and I'm going to choose who to send it to. And I want them to understand what kind of jobs we can do, what we can handle, who we are, and what we're looking for. Right. That's kind of what I want them to understand. And then what's going to happen? They're going to start sending you bid invites. And I didn't have to spend any money to do that. Right. I didn't have to go sign up for some bid board or whatever that cost $5,000 or $6,000 a year. I just wrote a letter and sent it and made some connections, and now I get invited to bid on jobs. Um, but when I look at these jobs for general contractors, I understand they're going to be 6 months, a year, to whatever down the road, right? Most of them are not going to happen immediately. So um, I have that in mind, and I'm going to look at things that are realistic. Realistically, what can I handle and what can I not handle? What type of jobs can I afford to do and what type of jobs can I just not afford to do? We started with a little bit of money. We've probably got it a little bit spread out because we started with net 30 customers. So, we're going to have to wait on money to come back. Some subcontractors can wait a little bit. Some are going to want to be paid like 14 seconds after they're done with the job. So you got to be prepared for that. Suppliers, same situation, right? If you're a brand new company, your suppliers might start you off as COD and you got to pay for all that material up front. So just depending on how all that stuff goes, and we've spent some money, right? I mean, we might be kind of thin on cash already, and so we might want to stay with pretty small jobs for the general contractors. Maybe we've hit a few decent jobs, and maybe we got some credit lined up with some suppliers, stuff like that. Like, just depends. I'm gonna fill that out. I'm going to fill out my cash flow situation, and I'm going to make sure that I don't make myself go broke by trying to do more work. Okay. Um, and I'm going to be strategic and intentional about which jobs that I bid, jobs that I can handle, jobs that I don't need a big team of people to get done. I'm not, even if I could afford them, I don't want to go out and get some giant jobs right away. Maybe once I've built a network, figure out who these subcontractors are, what they can do, things like that, I might go a little bit more aggressive on the bigger jobs, but I'm not going to start there. And so now I'm just going to keep going, right? That's what I put step 6, continue. So 1, fiercely control cost. So this is something a little bit controversial, I think, is that you can be cheap if your business is set up to be cheap. Okay, it goes against what a lot of people say, and it goes against a lot of what we want and what we've heard. But if you structure your business to be cheap, you can be cheap. That's all there is to it. You're going to be limited in capacity, right? There's going to be some downsides that come along with that. And you're going to have to be super conservative, but you could build a business to do it. So I would, no matter what, I would demand the best experience for the customer. Like I said, that's what we want, right? Yeah, we want quality. Sure, we want quality work. But I think at the end of the day, the most important thing in this business to business world, in that whole section of commercial fence, even general contractors and stuff like that, for the most part, the biggest piece of it is the customer experience, right? Being there when you say you're going to be there and doing what you say you're going to do. You can slip up on the quality a little bit here and there. I promise you, go around and look at some of the jobs that are installed in your town, right? Because I mean, no, none of you listening do any kind of work that's not fantastic. So go look at some other work, right? And remember, they got paid to do that. So I'm not saying that we stoop to that level by any means. I am a freaking nut job when it comes to things being right. So I'm not going to go to that level. I'm not just going to throw up something to get it in. But what I'm saying is the experience outweighs the quality. Okay. So again, fiercely control cost. I'm also going to monitor financials like a hawk looking for some supper. All right. So I'm going to stay on top of my job costing. I'm going to stay on top of all my financial data entry. Hopefully, my assistant that I talked about earlier, hopefully, that person is like, man, they're killing it and they can take over some of this because I don't particularly enjoy a lot of these things. And I'm going to be like in the fast lane to try to get out of doing most of this stuff. So, but I also know that it has to be done. So we need to stay on top of job costing. Job costing, huge deal. Don't skimp out, right? Just do it. I'm going to make sure I stay on top of all my financial data entry because I want information. I really like information. So I'm going to make sure we're up to date and we're not lazy. And the biggest thing, like I said, fiercely control cost, right? I want to make sure that I do not let my expenses creep up on me. Okay. I don't want to go sign up for that extra thing and just forget about it and have this recurring cost going on every month. I don't want to go have a bunch of, I don't know, equipment and vehicles and stuff that I'm paying taxes and maintenance and things like that on that are just sitting around. Like, I want to monitor that all of our cost as closely as I can. And all of that is just because I can be a little bit more competitive when it comes bid day, right? The lower my costs are, the lower my margin can be, and I still make money. So that's what I'm going to work on. So control the cost. And I'm going to watch the cash flow. Like I mentioned that a little bit earlier, right? But man, you got to stay on top of that cash flow. We started right out the gate with net 30 jobs. And so we're going to be a little bit spread. I don't know how our situation is with our vendors, probably COD. Like I said, how much money did we have to pay the insurance company up front? How much did we spend with our lawyer? Like, I don't really know what our cash situation is. But I'm going to make sure that I'll watch that cash flow super closely, at least until, things kind of get rolling. I'm going to be checking bank accounts and things like that daily. How much money do we receive yesterday? How much did we spend yesterday? Like, I want to know that daily. We cannot afford to let that stuff slide. We started with zero assets and $150,000 in the bank. We have got to stay on top of this cash flow if we're going down this path. Okay. Again, you want to go in the residential market, I think you can do that a lot cheaper. But for me, the path that I want to go, we got to stay on top of that cash flow. And so now, I don't know how far we're into this thing. Y'all ask me all the hard questions, but I don't know. Let's say we're 6 or 8 months in, right? Maybe a year. And so now, because we've tracked data, we have some good information to start looking at. And we've been kind of just probably treading water pretty much up until this point, right? Because a lot of the stuff that we're doing is kind of just like survival almost. Like we have to sell some jobs in order to pay the bills. And so we have to sell some jobs. We have to get them installed. And so now, hopefully, maybe we made it to the off season. We can take a little bit of a breather and we have some data that we can look at. So now we can start making some strategic decisions. All right. Remember all those associations that we were trying to be active in and the lunches and the dinners and things like that we were going to? Oh, yeah. We paid for all the memberships to that stuff. Right. Well, don't forget that that's going to renew. Okay. So now we can look at all of those, make a list of them if you have to, and sit there and go through every single one of them. How many of those events are you attending? And man, the slippery slope that we want to go down is like, well, I haven't been using it yet, but I want to. Right? But I'm going to. Well, maybe, right? But just be very careful with that because I'm guilty of that 100%. But anyway, let's look at all of those and let's see which one makes sense for us to continue to be a member of, which one makes sense for us to pay that renewal. Okay. Where are we selling the jobs? Who are the customers? And I hope that you had some sort of well, I didn't even mention this way back at the beginning, but laptop, QuickBooks, CRM, Simpalo, like that's a part of my core, software package, right? Is some sort of CRM, at least something basic. And because I have all that, I can see where the leads come from and I can see where we're selling jobs. I don't care just about where the leads come from. I care about where the jobs come from. Where do the contracts come from is what I want to know. And so when I can see that, it can help me strategize where I need to focus energy on going to these meetings, going to lunches, dinners, you know, advertising money that we're spending, marketing money, stuff like that. Um, and now we see that, so we know how to strategize, right? And now's the point where at some time, maybe this is 2, 3 months in, maybe this is 6, 8 months in, whatever it is. Now we've built a little bit of a reputation. Okay, we have some customers that hopefully are a little bit sticky. Maybe they're coming back to us. Um, we know what they're looking for. We understand what they expect, and now's when maybe we've been cutting like super bare bones margin. Maybe we can creep that up a couple points, right? Get to something that's at least comfortable and reasonable. We're not trying to, take advantage of people and hit home runs and things like that, but we do want it to be reasonable. And now maybe we've established a real differentiator, right? Maybe we have some customer feedback and we've got some testimonials and things like that because, we've been working on these things and we've got something that we can clearly say, this is what's different about us, right? And now that makes us a little bit more valuable. Now, on the other hand, if you want to just be the cheapest, hey, you do you, right? Just live that, just own it. Don't pretend like you're not going to try to be the cheapest while you are being the cheapest. If it's you, just own it and understand that that's who you want to be and build your business to be that. Right? Don't build your business to where 30 years down the road, like you're still stressing and broke every single day. Obviously, things happen. You might get out of that spot and then get back in that spot, right? Yeah, sucks. Things happen to everybody. But don't like plan to still be in the same spot. Plan to build something and to start, kind of giving yourself some financial security, right? And so if you're going to be the cheapest, your business has to be built for it. And if you're not, then don't. Just make up your mind. But anyway, as we've kind of got all these things going for us, right? Like I'm going to start easing up on that margin just a hair. Like I said, not trying to get greedy, not trying to get crazy, but I do want to at least be profitable because again, I want to work towards getting trucks and trailers and equipment and crews and things like that. Because when someone hear me on this customer experience part, why I want crews, because when someone calls me right now, it is currently 6:32 p.m. And when someone calls me and they say, hey, I need you to come repair my gate tomorrow, someone just drove through it, I want to be in a spot where I can say, okay, right, we'll come out first thing in the morning, we'll take a look at it, and we'll be able to, probably get something put together for you tomorrow afternoon, right? Whatever that answer is. And subcontractors make it extremely difficult to do that thing. Not impossible, but extremely difficult if they're actually true subcontractors. And I'm not going to be a cheater about that, right? If I tell them they have to show up here 5 days a week and be here at 7 a.m., they're not subcontractors. So I'm going to be legit about that. But anyway, to deliver that customer experience, it takes in-house crews most of the time. So that's where I would start. Man, that took an hour, so I think it was timed out pretty well. I don't know if I'll go back through this and try to get in the weeds a little bit deeper on any of it. I'm not sure. It was a fun thought experiment, right? And even as I was talking through it sitting here, I enjoyed kind of visualizing what would happen and where I'd be and what I'd be doing and stuff like that if I just packed up and went somewhere and started over. I think it would be really fun to do, actually. I think it would be a really cool experience, a really cool challenge. Just kind of take all the things that you've learned and start over. Sounds pretty cool. If anyone out there decides to do it, let me know. And past that, that's what I have for you. If you're coming to our local AFA chapter, Memphis Tri-State Fence Association golf tournament on the 15th and 16th, I'll see you there. We'll be running around, videos, interviews, things like that. It'll be a good time. If you're not coming, think about coming. And if not, I'll see you next time right here on Powerhouse Fence Show.